Hello and welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Fremont Unified Superintendent Kim Wallace, sitting in for KK Kaneshiro. While women continue to make strides in the corporate world, a recent survey shows that only 24 Fortune 500 companies list a woman as CEO. A group of students at Washington High School is working to help bridge this gender gap through their SheEO program. Through workshops and other events, SheEO is helping young women develop the skills and strategies needed to be successful entrepreneurs. Here to tell us about the organization are Washington High School students, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
So I'm Mihira, and I am a senior in Washington.
My name is Almitra, and I'm also a senior at Washington.
My name is Tara, and I'm also a senior at Washington.
Well, welcome. We're so glad to have you here today. Our favorite community conversations are with students, and it sounds like you have created a really innovative program that is inspiring to a lot of people. So just tell us, what is SheEOs? Where did it come from? How did you come up with the concept?
So, the first thing to address in that is what exactly SheEO is.
Tell us about it.
And SheEO is an organization that we created in 10th grade to bridge the gender gap in the field of entrepreneurship. And we do this because we feel that girls need to be empowered and they need to have the confidence in order to, strive for anything that they want to. And we believe that by prepping them with tools, they'll gain this confidence and it'll allow them to reach for whatever goals they may have.
And adding on to that, in one of our introductory workshops we were holding with a Girl Scout troop, we were just asking the girls some basic icebreaker questions, and one of their questions was, who wants to be a CEO? Mm-hmm. And one of the girls raised her hand. She's like, oh no, I'll be the position right under the CEO. And we were all really confused by that answer, and we were like, oh, why is that? And she goes, being the CEO is too much pressure, and I don't want to make a wrong decision that would affect the company. And so after that, we realized that this was really something we had to work towards and to inspire young girls in our community so that they could become CEOs and not the position under. So, yeah.
So you mentioned Girl Scouts, and so you actually have created a Girl Scout badge for SheEO. So tell us, how did that end up, the evolution of that come about?
So I've been a Girl Scout since elementary school, and so I knew a little bit about what goes into earning a badge, and I knew that you could make your own badge. And so with our workshops, what we do is we have they go through five steps of entrepreneurship, and those are kind of like the basics of our curriculum. And for each step of entrepreneurship, we have them do a separate activity that will teach them that concept. And so after they go through the 5 steps and do a couple of activities, they earn the badge.
Okay.
And we thought that reaching out to Girl Scouts was a really good way to, especially when we first started off, we were, a little bit confused. How do we get people to come to our workshops? But we thought that going to these troops and going to girls that were interested in becoming leaders was a good way to gain an audience and go directly toward the market we were targeting.
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly because during the time of our Girl Scout workshop, it was their cooking selling season. So we got to tie in the 4 P's of marketing and different tactics to finance and budget their cookie sales. So it really tied both organizations together.
Yeah.
So where did you learn the tools?
So
Did you create them, or did you gather them from somewhere? Did somebody help you come up with this?
So initially, we're all part of DECA, which is a business club on Washington's campus, and they had a chapter event, which is basically a competitive event where you work with your whole chapter, so not just the 3 of us, but our whole chapter, to promote entrepreneurship. So we did this, we created SheEO initially for this competitive event, but then throughout the years we realized that it was such an important mission that we wanted to address, so we just continued with it. And through this club, that's when we learned the fundamentals of entrepreneurship and finance.
Great. So why is it that we looked at the statistic, only 24 of Fortune 500 companies have women as CEOs. What do you think is behind that, and do you see that changing as a result of your generation?
I definitely think it will change with our generation because there are a lot of groups such as SheEO, but even national ones that help girls in leadership in other industries. But I think one of the biggest reasons is before, I don't think people were aware of as many female role models that were CEOs and in higher positions that they were aware of. So as a young girl, when you don't see someone in a job that you might want to do, you just feel like you can't do it, and that like no one's done it before, so I don't think I can do it. So it's kind of that kind of mentality, I think, that just drives this. Yeah.
So role models is one. What else would
Yeah,
be
for sure.
at play?
And adding on to her point, this is something we also saw with the Girl Scouts when we asked her the question of whether or not she wanted to be a CEO. She kind of shied away, and we think that's because of like there's a feeling of self-doubt that I feel like a lot of girls have, and personally, like throughout high school, I've also felt this, and I can say a lot of my peers have as well.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a feeling where you don't think you're good enough for really like no apparent reason. You just kind of have this feeling like, oh, I can't do it, oh well, and you just don't worry about it, and you're happy with what you have instead of, you know, breaking out of your comfort zone and trying to do something different. And we think that's one of the biggest reasons, and that kind of goes on to not having female role models, because a lot of times if you have someone to look up to, that's only when you can know that you're just doubting yourself. It's not really your abilities.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so I just like a personal example. For example, my dad's a software engineer, and I would always like connote the job of coding or like doing mathematics with a boy and not really a woman. So just growing up, I always had that stigma that coding and entrepreneurship and like higher roles in the workforce were generally male dominated. But when we started like researching and looking for a target market to really focus on before CEO existed, it was really surprising to me that that was the case, and that kind of just drove us forward with the organization.
So you look at role models, gender stereotypes, self-confidence. There are a lot of pieces to the puzzle that can be deterrents, and seeing people of your generation being so passionate about it, I definitely see that there's going to be changes that we have in the future around this. So you mentioned some workshops that you have offered. So tell me about the workshops. How do people get involved? What is the content? What do they look like?
Yeah, so this year itself, we partnered with middle schools in our area. So we partnered with Centerville Junior High School as well as Hopkins, and we did a 3-series workshop where we met the kids weekly. And our first workshop was an introduction to entrepreneurship, where we went and taught them the 5 steps to entrepreneurship. And they also got to participate in an activity where they kind of brainstormed on the spot of a product that would fulfill an unmet need. Some examples were like jet-powered backpacks.
Another one was having a store which sold one portion meals, and I thought that was really helpful because when I go to the store, I don't want to buy something for 5 people, and so I thought that was really cool.
And then our second workshop in the series was like website development, so how they could program their own websites for these ideas. And then the third workshop focused on the presentation aspect. So by the end of it, they formed groups and they presented their websites that they made.
And through these 3-series workshops, we really found that, initially our workshops only like addressed entrepreneurship, but this year we added, like she said, having website development, and we realized that by adding this aspect of technology, it not only made what we were teaching with entrepreneurship more relevant, but it also helped the girls gain relevance to learning how to code, because a lot of people have this stigma that coding is just, you're just going to be a software engineer in a cubicle for the rest of your life, when in reality it's just a tool that you can use to do anything that you want. And we really wanted to emphasize that, and we felt that by bridging entrepreneurship with technology, they could learn that.
Wow, this is all very inspiring and interesting. You guys sound so together, like you're already professionals in your business. It's pretty amazing. So tell me about this grant that you received. How did that come about, and what is the money going to be used for, and what might you do in the future with it?
Yeah, so when we were first starting SheEO, we realized funding was a big problem. We wanted to give the girls access to laptops during the workshops, and we knew that would be a problem with like money and stuff. So we were looking for grants online, and I'm an alumni of an organization called AI for All, which promotes artificial intelligence inclusion for girls and men, since that's also like a male-dominated field right now. And they were offering $1,000 grants to community outreach programs that wanted to spread awareness to girls, not necessarily girls, but minority groups, about artificial intelligence, computer science. And since we were tying in technology with our workshops, we thought it would be a really good opportunity to use their tools to fulfill our workshops. So we applied to this grant, and we were actually really surprised that we got the grant because it was pretty competitive, and it was just like in the very beginning we didn't know if our plans would make it, but it all worked out in the end.
That's great. And so did you buy the technology with it already? Did you get the money yet, or is it still forthcoming?
So yeah, we just recently got the money, but fortunately with our previous workshops, since we did it through Fremont Unified School District with Centerville Junior High School and Hopkins, we were able to have laptop carts that were already in the classrooms, but in the future when we continue this organization, we're going to need some source of funding for, renting out laptops so that the girls can learn how to code online and, potentially getting them like for example, we were thinking of getting them Lean In books by Sheryl Sandberg as just a motivation to give them a role model, and those things like that are gonna really be able to, we will really be able to do those things with this money.
Yeah, and adding on to that, when we continue, we're obviously, we're hoping that we'll need bigger venues and bigger prizes, and so it's just all going to be used just for workshops and just helping the girls. Yeah.
So it's just the three of you in CEOs, or do you have a network?
So we have people from our DECA chapter who help out here, and they're with curriculum and running our workshops, but as of now, it's mainly us three who will be continuing it forward.
The core group.
Yeah.
So, dream CEO job for each one of you.
Oh no.
Oh no.
All right, so think about it. You're the CEO poster women. If you could be CEO of any organization or any field, you don't have to say like specifically, but what would it be? What would you want to say, this is my name on this company or this building or this organization, my stamp on?
To be honest, the way I'd answer that question is to have our names on the organization CEO and have be CEOs of CEO, I guess you could say.
That's great.
Yeah, expand this organization.
So you've already found your Fortune 500 company.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think
you don't
I
have
would,
to choose just one CEO job.
I think I would agree with her, but maybe along with that, I definitely want to be in a higher level, like a CEO for a company related to technology, but that also helps the community in some way.
Okay.
So I really want to continue with that community outreach.
Some service
in the future.
element to
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
Yeah, I'm really interested in design right now, so making technology more accessible to people who aren't that tech savvy. So designing like websites and applications that are aesthetic to users and making the experience of using technology just more easier for them.
Yeah.
Great. So before you become your CEOs, because you're all 12th graders and you're going to graduate, what are your plans in the coming years after you graduate from Washington? Do you know yet?
Yeah, so all three of us will be attending UC Berkeley.
Really, all three of you together?
Yeah.
Why am I not surprised?
And
you're taking over the world.
And we were just talking about this outside, but we really want to continue CEO, and so we hope to start a CEO chapter.
Wow.
And hopefully recruit members at the college, and then just expand our workshops throughout the Bay Area as well.
Wow, you're amazing. I can see it already.
Yeah.
Major?
Computer science.
I'm planning on doing computer science and math.
Computer science and maybe business as well.
And are you all going to room together, get an apartment?
Us two are rooming
We're rooming together.
And she's
I'm rooming with
another
one of our other friends.
Just a hunch. Well, you have clearly a huge career ahead of you and opportunities. What do you think we can provide for others in the district that is equally inspiring for, once you leave and graduate, I'm sure your legacy will, either go with you or you'll leave people behind to carry it on. But what other kinds of things can we help with gender equity in our school district?
So one of the things that I think that could be useful is, there are a lot of resources that are around in the Bay Area, especially, living in the Silicon Valley. There's a lot of awareness about the gender disparity and a lot of organizations that have been founded similar to CEO to bridge this gender disparity and give girls access to more opportunities. And I think as a district, if we make the students in our district aware about these opportunities, through school or through a certain teacher or just school-wide posts or something like that, where they learn about these organizations and, you know, they try to become, if they're interested in it, they can, you know, try to be a part of it. I think that's a really good way to get girls inspired, and it really gives them a way to be in the network of all these opportunities.
So part of it's just exposure.
Just
what's out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of like organizations out there already.
Yeah. Role models, support.
Yeah.
What other things have you experienced that Fremont Unified might be able to kind of more capitalize on in terms of helping with the confidence piece? Because, you know, education is not just about academics, and it's not just about, it's about being a well-rounded person. And so you all mentioned a little bit about just you know, feeling like that confidence can be an issue for anybody at any point in their life. So what advice would you give to young women or young men?
Yeah, take new risks, definitely. Try things that you wouldn't have necessarily thought about trying before. So we had a lot of students whose parents initially wanted them to do this organization, but later on they realized that it was actually very useful. So just like she said again, exposing them to the different opportunities they have after high school or middle school or elementary school even, because I think a lot of students, they get into the mode of just like completing test by test and not really seeing the different applications to what they're learning about. So exposing them to different like career options would be really good.
That's great. Well, you have all just blown my mind. You're incredibly intelligent and articulate, and I look forward to seeing you in the New York Times and the Washington Post and on Newsweek, because you really have something special here that you have tapped into that is right in the right moment, and we're just proud to have you as future graduates of Fremont Unified. Don't forget us when you become famous and change the world. So thank you for joining us, and we are glad to conclude yet another wonderful episode of our Community Conversations.